What's up guys, John Bird III here. We're back again for another video, and in today's video you're in for a treat because today we're going to talk about Lu's two most expensive reels that they have in their entire arsenal. We're going to talk about the pros and cons to both. Do you need them as an angler? Are they worth the money? And should you add this to your arsenal? Now I want to preface this whole entire video with this here. You don't need super high end equipment to get out there, get on the water, and to catch a bass. Now, you already know that from my previous videos, and I mentioned one reel in particular a lot, and that is the $99 speed spool. That reel right there, you can have an entire arsenal, 20 to 30 of them in your rod box, in your arsenal, ready to go. And I promise you that reel will outperform a lot of reels on the market. And that reel is bulletproof. It's not pretty. It's on the little bit heavy side in my opinion, but it is a workhorse. So I preface this whole entire video before we jump into these two reels that the $99 speed spool gets the job done, point blank period. But let's just go ahead and jump into these two reels. So the first reel we're going to talk about, and I've mentioned this reel before, is the Team Lu's Prot TI. Y'all see the purple accents on this thing? This reel right here is awesome. So the Prot TI comes in at $400. Now that is pricey. Let's just be frank, right? It's a pricey reel. Now I've actually been using this reel for I've had this reel going on about a year and a half now. But this is my original Prot TI. So this is Gen 1. I've had this reel since 2020. And now I can talk about the differences between the two. And they're very subtle differences, but you will have to have been able to use these reels enough to be able to tell what the differences are. Now, if you can find Gen 1 at a reduced price, get it. Point blank period. But if you can't and you're consider getting the Gen 2, get the Gen 2, right? You won't be disappointed whether you get Gen 1 or you get Gen 2. You don't have to feel like, oh, they came out with Gen 2, I got to get Gen 2 if you got Gen 1 because they're both are perfect. Now, I've beaten this reel up a lot. This is my go-to bladed jig reel. Well, now it's Gen 2. This was my go-to bladed jig reel for 3 years until this one came out. And I got this reel because I felt like I needed to do a comparison between the two. I want to see if there were any differences aside from, as you already see, like just aesthetically looking at them, the frames are different. And so that is why I was like, let me try both of them. Let me compare both of them because I got a lot of seat time with this reel. I know what this reel can do. This reel right here is like one of my favorite reels in the arsenal. It's not number one because the Custom Pro is my number one. But this reel right here, I will always have a Prot TI somewhere on my rod deck, right? That is why I had to get Gen 2 just to compare them both. Now, what is the difference between Gen 1, Gen 2? Aside from the frame, right? Well, the knobs. Let's just be point blank period. So this got the JDM style knobs. You see how skinny they are compared to, hopefully y'all can see that in frame, compared to the bigger knobs. I like the thinner knobs personally. I can hold on to the knobs on the Gen 2, these thinner ones, better than I can with these big fat round knobs. I don't know why. You will feel like more real estate on the bigger, thicker knobs. I can't hold on to them as well with that like I can these. And a lot of people don't like these. And I don't know if they've actually used the reel with these thin round knobs to say, oh, I don't like them, or they're just basing it off of how it looks. But I actually can hold on to these handles a lot better. I have kind of medium to large size hands. They're fat and wide, but I can hold on to these a lot better than I can these knobs. So that's number one. The braking system are the same. The drag on these are the same. So where the difference lies is how well you can fine tune this one compared to this one. What I did was, just for a straight up comparison, I put the same line on here, so 17-pound contra on both of these, because that's what I throw my bladed jigs. And then I put this on my bladed jig, my Andy Montgomery bladed jig rod, with a Strike King Thunder Cricket. Didn't matter whether it was the tungsten or the regular one. It was a Thunder Cricket with a rage bug because I like to skip them on the dots and stuff like that. And I had both of these on the rod deck at the same time. I could instantly tell that I could fine tune the Gen 2 model better than I could with Gen 1. But again, I have enough seat time to be able to determine how I can fine tune these a lot better. I feel like I had a lot less backlashes with Gen 2 compared to Gen 1. But again, let me say this, I wasn't having a lot of backlashes with Gen 1. But there's definitely a difference in how you dial this reel in compared to Gen 1. And that is the biggest difference between the two of these. Now, I like the Gen 1 frame better just simply because of how I hold my reel. But the Gen 2 actually, in some ways, is comfortable still. And one thing I like about the Gen 2 is they call this the hood. So the wide hood on the reel, I actually like that for where I can put my thumb at. But on Gen 1, I can put my finger right here below the worm gear, whereas on Gen 2, I can't. And so I have to be kind of conscious of that so that I'm not putting my hand directly on the worm gear versus the frame. So I kind of just lay it on the rod a little bit or whatever. I just kind of tried to find a way to continue to hold on to the reel like I used to. Aside from that, like I like the side panel of the frame and how it feels in my palm. It feels really, really well. And so again, that is another thing that I like about this reel. But performance wise, it performs great. Now, this is the next one. The Team Lose Elite TI. This one right here. This is a $500 reel. That's a ridiculous amount of money to pay for a reel. I mean, it is what it is. There are some guys out there now. Let's just be honest. There are some guys out there. They're paying money. They're buying those Stellas and the Accents. Like they're paying a lot of money out there for some reels. And in my mind, the question that I always ask myself, is it worth that dollar amount? Now, when we're talking about a reel from $100 to, I say $350. That is the, let's just give it that gap. Will I say this $100 reel to this $350 reel? I feel like that's average in my opinion. So, but once I get over that $350, and $350 is pushing it, let's just be honest. My favorite reel, the Custom Pro, is $279. But $350 is pushing it. So getting over that $350 mark, I'm like, is this worth it? And so once I got this reel right here, I was like, okay, it's lightweight. It feels really good, but what is the difference of this reel compared to the Pro TI? Because the frames are the same material on the frame. The accents are different, right? The weaving of the reel knobs are different. But I mean, like, okay, different weaving. I mean, great. But what is the biggest difference between what is the biggest difference between the Pro TI and the Elite TI? And that is going to be the straight across the map. It's the braking system. This reel has the Paramag braking system. The Pro TI has the ACB braking system, which is my favorite braking system that is in all of the Lose reels. Well, let me rephrase that. That is my favorite braking system that Lose offer amongst all their different reels. They have a bunch of different ones, but I love the ACB. That is what I like about the Pro TI. Love the braking system. The braking system in here is very, very different. And I don't know if I can actually show you 100% where you can understand it. And so you see how that looks right there. And I'm going to just show you from a more so of how it looks in hand. And so you could see like, so the magnets in your traditional reel are front flat facing and you can see them. Where in the Paramag, they're faced like this, right? And so what happens is once you adjust your braking, this is how this is how the Paramag braking system works. It actually cups like this with the spool on the reel compared to your traditional braking system that we're all are used to, your centrifugal ones that sit flat flat like this, and it's basically doing like this to actually slow down your spool. So the paramag is more so like a cupping motion. So think about like a baseball going into a mitt type deal, whereas this here is like two hi-hats. It's like a hi-hat on the drum. It's like this here. And so that's the best way that I can probably explain it to you, that it will make somewhat of some sense, but that's really the biggest difference when you're talking about the Pro TI versus the Elite TI. Now, with the Elite TI, like, you would ask yourself, well, what is that all that I'm getting? Yes. Because let me just say this, like, anytime you start messing with internals, when you start messing with braking systems, when you start messing with stuff like that, like ball bearings and stuff like that, that price adds up. I don't care what manufacturer it is. I don't care who the brand is. I don't care what nobody says. That stuff adds up. And every cent that goes into a product, whether it's a rod, whether it's a reel, does not matter. That stuff adds up over time. And so when you're looking at these reels, in my opinion, like the best way that I can put it, we're going to talk about like cars or trucks or whatever. When you're talking about top of the line, high dollar, like this is fully loaded. That's what you're getting when you're getting both of these two reels. Like you're talking about top of the line. You're talking about leather, heated seats, heated steering wheel, cooling steering wheel, butt coolers in your seats. Like literally, like you're talking about every single thing. And that's what you're getting when you're looking at these two reels. These, in my opinion, is what I would consider a luxury reel. Now, this is the question for somebody that can afford these reels, right? Like I have guys in the comments talking about some of my other videos and some of the other reels, and it's like, I have this $50, $60 reel and it works great. That's perfectly fine, right? Like, you get what you can afford and that's what you use. And if that works for you, don't worry about some of the high-end reels. Like, let's get that out of our mind. The information that I'm bringing to you are for specific people that are considering these particular products, right? These particular products. These reels aren't for everybody. So let me just make that clear. So I was talking with a guy at the Classic last year, and he was looking at some of the different luge reels in the luge booth, and he was like, what's the best reel for a light Texas rig? I said, first question I asked, I said, what's your budget? He was like, I ain't got no budget. Oh, all right. Well, simple enough. This is the reel that I recommend, right? And I recommended him the Custom Light. Why? Because the Custom Light is good for very lightweight baits. So you're talking about a light Texas rig, maybe a stick bait with no weight on there. You're talking about like a fat baby finesse worm with an 1/8 ounce weight or a 3/16 ounce weight. That's why I recommended that reel. But if he was to say my budget is $200, oh, perfect. Well, on the low end, let's go $99 speed spool. If you want to go on the higher end, we go Tournament Pro. If you want to go in the middle, Tournament MP. So you see what I'm saying there? It's based off of your budget. So these reels aren't for everybody. Just like driving a high country Chevy or the Capstone New Tundras. Those trucks ain't for everybody, right? And so if you can afford the base model, shoot, get the base model. And then you can make little upgrades to stuff over time. Whereas with reels, not necessarily. You could upgrade the handles if you wanted to. You could update the ball bearings if you wanted to. But aside from that, like, that's it. So the question for the guy that is comparing the Pro TI versus the Elite TI, which one to get? If I had to go based off my personal opinion and the time that I've had using both of these, I'm going to go Pro TI. And the reason being, now, again, let me say this also. If the guy that gets the Elite TI, is he going to be unsatisfied? No, not at all. He's going to be completely satisfied. Is he going to be beating himself up that he wish, if the guy who got the Pro TI is going to be beating himself up and wishing he should have got the Elite, or vice versa? No, you're not. Like, you're really not. But the Pro TI is just the one that I like the most. I mean, again, it's the braking systems. I tend to lean more so to the ACB, and I have a lot of seat time with the ACBs. Again, I have a lot of seat time with the Gen 1 Pro TI, and then coming into this one compared to the Elite, because this is Lou's first introduction into really like When I say super high end, we're talking $500 plus, but technically a $400 reel, that's a high end reel. But entering that $500 market, this reel is great. Point blank period. Like, it is what it is. There's a part of me that just has that attachment to the Pro TI because I have a lot of seat time from Gen 1 to Gen 2. And this is a reel that I use the most. Now, I want to make this clear also. And I want to make sure everybody understands this, right? So, when you buy a $400 reel or a $500 reel, make sure, and listen to me very carefully, make sure you use these reels for a technique that you are constantly going to have in your hands. I.e., I use a Thunder Cricket a lot. That is why I use this reel for that. Don't buy this reel for a technique that you don't use but 1% of your day. That's a waste of your money. Point blank period. It's a straight up waste. So when you start diving into these high end reels, no matter what the brand is, make sure it's for a technique that you love to do and that you're going to use it a lot. That's the only thing that I ask. Because if you're not, you just got money just sitting there on the rod deck, or you just got money sitting at home. I mean, just in like in the corner or whatever, or in your man cave or whatever. You just got money just sitting there, and because you just got caught up in the hype and the look of it or whatever, and you heard your favorite pro talk about the reel or whatever. They sold it to you based off the video. Don't buy no high-end reel unless you're going to use it. I use this reel for a jig. Like when I say jig now, because I have the Pro SP and I use that for more so for close quarter combat skipping and stuff like that. This is my all-around jig reel, right? And when I say all around, I mean like whether I'm casting way out there making a long bond cast with a football jig, whether I'm skipping docks, whether I'm just flipping laydowns. Like, this is a reel that if I know I'm going to fish a jig, but I'm gonna fish a jig a lot of different ways, that is when I'm going to pick this up. The only time I use the Pro SP over this one, if I know I'm going to a lake, like I guess you could say maybe like a Wiley or Lake Watery, somewhere that has a lot of docks, and I'm just skipping docks all day long. Or I'm in the swamp or somewhere on Santee where there's just cypress trees galore. Skip, 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 skip. That's all I'm doing. That's why I'm going Pro SP, because I don't need a whole lot of line. But again, when I'm talking all around jig fishing, every scenario possible, I'm going with the Elite TI. 20-pound line on here. And so that's really it. So again, these reels right here, these are, like I said, these are luxury reels in my opinion. I don't baby them. I just don't, because babying an expensive reel is like, it doesn't make sense to me, because I'm like, these are twos. And so I need to be able to see what these reels can handle and what they can't. And that's why I don't baby them. And I use them for techniques that I know I'm going to use a lot of the time. So that's it for today's video. Hopefully this video helps you be able to make your decision if you are the guy that is considering the Pro TI or the Elite TI. I hope that helps you make your decision. Now, again, you can't go wrong with neither one. I mean, you can't. If it's in your budget to get the Elite, get the Elite. If it's in your budget only to get the Pro TI, get the Pro TI. But you can't go wrong with either one. I just lean towards the Pro TI. Plus, like, I like the purple over the gold accents. The gold accents, to my opinion, is just like, it makes it seem like, on my opinion, I guess you could say like royalty when I look at the gold accents. But that purple on here, that purple and that titanium silver, fire. It looks awesome. But if you like this video, hit the like button. Leave a comment down below on what's your favorite high-end reel. I would like to know that. And again, I don't try to be biased because I use all lose gear. Like, that's not who I am. But I try to let you all know why I use the stuff that I use, what I use it for, and where have I found that, whether it's the luge rod, the luge reel, whatever, where that stuff seems to work best at. That's what I try to do, because finding the right rod and reel for me is like putting a puzzle together. And once I can find that, and once you actually got the puzzle already done, kind of like that puzzle up there, if you can see it, it's like there's a sense of fulfillment. And I feel like I fish better once I have the exact dialed in setup. So, I mean, that's it. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm JB3. I got to get back to living the dream. I'll catch you later.